So you wouldn't necessarily say, now, I mean, there are some books when you read, you feel very Sri Lankanized, you connect to it. A foreigner may not understand it. Now, I would call that a Sri Lankan book, a Sri Lankan writer's book. Now, you wouldn't say that you're that type, but you are in the middle.
I would say I'm in the middle. I mean, I've had a lot of Amazon reviews, and I've had quite a few people from Sri Lanka say, I wasn't expecting to like this book. I wasn't expecting that she would get it, but somehow through some accident or something, she's got it, and that feels really great, because as I said, I struggled a lot with, like, can I tell this story?
Okay.
And the fact that it was published by Per Hussain, who are based in Sri Lanka, was really important to me,
Because I suppose there will be those who question,
sure.
What does she know about the war? We
Absolutely.
were here,
and
so
I would love for them to read the book and have a conversation with me.
Right.
That would be great. So it's really hard to talk to people that haven't read the book, because then you can say anything, right?
Right.
But read the book, and if you still have those issues, then sure, we can talk about it.
And so once someone does read the book, how do they get in touch with you, Naomi?
My website is on the front cover.
So if you Google Naomi Munavira, you will find her website. Also now, I want to ask you about the ending. Now, we discussed this. Now, 2002 you started, if I remember correctly, it was the beginning of the ceasefire agreement. And then 2009 the war ended. Now, obviously, did you write with the hope that the war would end? Would you think, I mean, every writer has an ending, and did you plan it, or how did it go?
When I was growing up, like in the 80s, and started writing this book, the end of the war was like this impossible dream. Like, I couldn't imagine it. So I started writing in 2002, and I ended, this sort of tragic thing happens sort of towards the end of the book, and I ended it there, and I couldn't get beyond that.
Okay.
And I had and the war hadn't ended, so this is like maybe 2005 or 6. I had an agent who said to me, this ending is wrong, and I said, it's not wrong, it's my ending. He said, no, I want to know what happens to these characters, and I said, I don't know, because the war's still going on, I have no idea. So when it ended in 2009, then I had my ending. So then I wrote the ending that you now have.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, currently there are those who say that, even though the war is over, the conflict necessarily is not. Now, bringing that trend into this discussion, hope. Now, do you think your book has a larger role to play? I mean, I think it can connect to people and make people realize another version. Will that happen?
I certainly hope so. I mean, that's a lot to ask of a book, and I would love for that to be the case, I mean, like I said, my motivation in writing it was just to say, ethnic differences aside, like, everybody suffered, everybody has trauma, there might be different levels of it, but really, like, at the end of the day, we're all human, and we've all gone through this really tremendously traumatic 30 years of war. So it doesn't matter if you're Tamil or Sinhala, like, that's really the most important thing, So can my book sort of point that out? I hope so. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting point that just came to my head. If someone volunteered to translate your book into Tamil and Sinhalese, what would you think about that?
I would be elated. That would be fantastic.
Right. So, I mean, that would connect to a much larger audience. Also, of course, the English reading is less. So, so you wouldn't mind that?
I would love that.
Ah, great. Yeah. Okay. Also now, something else about being abroad. Now, I read something about, you talk about the thuggery and the possible military issues and the tensions and the white bands and so on. Now, if you take a writer here, probably there will be a sense of danger or sense of feeling, okay, I'm not going to say that in my book, and you wouldn't write that here. Do you think you got that freedom because you were abroad?
Yes. Yes. Okay. I mean, I'm not a political writer. I'm a novelist, so I don't want to sort of get too much into the politics of it, because I'm not really qualified to talk about that. But I mean, I was close enough and far enough to tell this story, and there might be hundreds of other people, thousands of other people that can tell another story, but I told this story, and I had enough distance. Also, like, when you're living through events, like, it's like trying to watch a TV this close, right? You sort of see dots, but you need the distance to be able to sort of piece together events, right? So I had that space and distance and safety to write, And I think the stories will start coming out. I think the writing will start coming out now that it's over.
Okay. When you were writing this book, were there people who were trying to influence you to say certain things or say, I mean, this is right, this is wrong? I mean,
I didn't really tell anyone I was writing.
All right.
It was a sort of secret project for a long, long time. And I think that, there is a lot of polarity in LA where I grew up. The Tamil community and the Sinhala community is sort of separate. So I sort of traversed both. Okay. And you could hear people talking about those things. So they weren't trying to influence me specifically, but they were sort of separate.
Right. Now, about what you're going to do here now. You'll be here for 2 months, and I understand there are some events that you'll be at. You'll be a book signing at Barefoot.
Yeah, I'm doing a book signing at Barefoot on the 9th from 11 to 2. And then the International Center for Ethnic Studies on the 14th at...
That's going to be a discussion, is it?
It's a lecture and then a talk, sort of Q&A.
Okay.
And then I'm doing something really exciting called Right to Reconcile with Shyam Salvadorai. We're co-teaching 24 youth that have been picked sort of through a writing contest. And we have a week of workshops in Colombo from March 7th to the 10th, and then a week of workshops in Jaffna from the 21st to 24th. So super excited about that.
So Right to Reconcile is something that now I think you're getting involved in the process itself.
Yes.
That's a great thing. Now, have you been to Jaffna?
I've never been to Jaffna.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that will be indeed interesting. The road to Jaffna itself, there's so much to see, and you do see the change and what has happened, the destruction and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting. But now, what you see here, now say comparing the end of your book and what you see here, what do you see for the people here? I mean,
gosh, okay. I've been here for 3 days and I haven't been back for 10 years, so it's sort of difficult to talk about it. I mean, an incredible amount of development. I think it's just sort of wait and see. I'm not quite sure how to integrate it yet.
Okay. Now, you had a fantastic publishing story. Now, I think that's something writers find very difficult to do.
Oh, yes.
Tell us a little bit about how it happened.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, publishing right now is incredibly difficult, as I'm sure you know. But my publishing story is so interesting because it seems to sort of like encapsulate my whole life. It's like a nice sort of rounded story. So we left in 76 and we moved to Nigeria, and my best friend in Nigeria was another Sri Lankan girl. And best friends at that age are just close, and like you read everything and you play with Barbie dolls, and it's just very close friendship. And in 84 there was a military coup in Nigeria, so the Asians were told to leave. We left quite quickly. She moved to Canada, I moved to America. We sort of lost contact till we saw each other once, but we lost contact till 2011. Is that right? Yes. When she found me on Facebook. So we started talking, and she said, "What do you do?" I'm a writer. I've written this book. I actually wrote it in 5 years and then couldn't find a publisher in America, so put it away and started writing number 2.
Okay.
I have this book. I'm trying to find a publisher, and she said, "Oh, my best friends are publishers, and here's our email. Get in touch with them." And that's how I found my publisher here.
Right. So now, if I may say, I mean, your book will be well accepted by the reading audience of Sri Lanka. Do you think that if you do publish it in America, and I think you will, and I certainly hope you do, do you think it will sell? Do you think that they'll find it interesting to read?
I do. Okay, let me say I hope it will happen. Maybe I shouldn't be too cocky about that, but hoping. As much as it is a Sri Lankan story, it's also sort of an international story. This is, people are people, right? Whether you're in Afghanistan or Sri Lanka or Iraq or places where warfare is going on, the cultural differences are there, but at the end of the day, you're just human beings going through incredible pain and trauma. So I do think that there is a broader scope. It's sort of a human story too.
Right. So Rami, while we wrap up this interview, what plans do you have for the future in any other endeavors, any Sri Lankan issues you want to bring out? Just maybe another international book or...
Yeah. I mean, I have 2 in the works. And as I told you, like, this is my first novel, and I wrote it in 5 years, and then I sort of tried to publish, and it didn't work out. So I was like, okay, every writer has a first book that doesn't work, so I started working on number 2, and then I started working on number 3.
Okay.
So they are there, so we'll see how this one does, and then I'll work on this.
And certainly you'll have a very fulfilling 2 months in Sri Lanka, so much to do, so much to see.
Great.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for your fantastic book. I will certainly have a read. From the little I read, I'm certainly interested. So
Great.
if you are interested in meeting Naomi herself, come to Barefoot, and you can get a signed copy if you purchase her book as well. And with that, we'll go into a quick break on Good Morning Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, Naomi, for being with us.
Great.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And we'll take a break on Good Morning Sri Lanka.